10 London areas where home prices have fallen sharply from their peak. Westminster, London. Right now, in 2026, a two-bedroom flat in one of the most prestigious postcodes on earth is sitting on the market at £750,000. 3 years ago, that same flat sold for over £1 million. The seller is not holding out. The seller needs to move, and they are ready to negotiate. If you have been waiting for the right moment in the London property market, this video exists to tell you that the moment has a name, and that name is right now. The media has told the same story about London property for decades. Safe as houses. Bricks and mortar. The greatest store of wealth in the world. Prices always go up. And for a long time, that story was close enough to true that most people never questioned it. But official ONS data published in the last 90 days tells a very different story in 10 specific London boroughs where prices are not going up. They are falling, in some cases by double digits, in a single year. This is not a forecast. This is not someone's opinion. This is what the UK House Price Index actually shows. And if you are a buyer who has been on the sidelines, patient, watching, waiting for the numbers to make sense, those numbers are here. Today we are walking through 10 London boroughs where motivated sellers are negotiating hard, where completion prices are running well below asking price, and where the data says the prepared buyer is holding leverage that has not been available in this city since 2009. Hammersmith and Fulham, London. Hammersmith and Fulham sits in West London between Kensington and Chiswick, with strong tube connections, a beautiful Victorian housing stock, and the kind of postcode that was supposed to be recession-proof simply because of where it sits on the London map. The official ONS figure for February 2026 shows the average house price in this borough at £728,000, down 7.5% from a year earlier. In a borough where the average home costs nearly £750,000, that is a fall of roughly £54,000 in 12 months on official data alone. The most important detail here sits inside the flat market specifically. Analysis shows that 2/3 of all new build flat owners who sold in this borough in 2025 completed their sale at a loss. 2/3. That statistic alone tells you everything about the negotiating dynamic that exists here right now. A seller who bought a new build flat at peak pricing, who needs to move, who is sitting on a loss, is not holding out for full asking price. They are accepting realistic offers from buyers who have done their homework. The Victorian terrace houses and garden flats with genuine freehold, good school catchments, and outdoor space are holding up better, and rightly so, because those qualities command a different conversation. But in the flat market, the correction is documented and the leverage belongs to the buyer. Newham, London. Newham is an East London borough of roughly 380,000 people, anchored by Stratford and the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. It has more new build property than almost any other London borough. 1 in every 10 property sales here is a new build, and that concentration of developer stock competing directly with investor resales in the same postcode for the same buyer has created a negotiating environment that genuinely favors the patient, prepared purchaser. The average house price in Newham in February 2026 stands at £383,000, and the borough has seen meaningful downward pressure as investors who bought off-plan during the pandemic years are now discovering that the secondary market buyer does not exist at the prices they paid. The most important takeaway in Newham is about timing, not location. The Olympic Park is real. The Stratford transport connections are among the finest in London. The long-term direction of East London is not in doubt. But right now, in 2026, you can negotiate on properties in Newham in a way that was simply impossible 2 or 3 years ago. More than 1 in 5 sellers in this part of East London completed their sale in 2025 at a loss, according to Land Registry data. That is the number that tells you what leverage a serious buyer currently holds, and windows like this one do not stay open forever. Camden, London. Camden is inner North London, about 2 miles from the city centre, home to Hampstead, Kentish Town, Primrose Hill, and a high street unlike anything else in the capital. It is not the kind of borough that typically appears on a list like this. And yet here it is. The official ONS figure for Camden shows the average house price at £778,000 in February 2026, down 9.1% from a year earlier. That is an annual fall of roughly £77,000 in one of London's most coveted boroughs, on official government data. The fall is concentrated in the flat market and in the parts of the borough furthest from the heath, where the buyer base is younger, more mortgage-dependent, and more sensitive to rate movements. A two-bedroom flat in NW1, around Camden Town and Kentish Town, that was priced at £650,000 in 2022, is now being listed in the high 500s and negotiating down from there. The single most powerful idea to hold on to here is this: the borough is not going to stop being Camden. The restaurants, the market, the park, the architecture, the community, none of that has changed. The price has. And right now, the price is lower than it has been in years. For buyers who have always wanted Camden but could never quite bridge the gap, this is the data point you have been waiting for. Tower Hamlets, London. Tower Hamlets runs from Whitechapel down through Canary Wharf and the Isle of Dogs. It has the highest concentration of new-build residential development of any London borough, with more than 7% of all housing built within the last 5 years. The official ONS figure for Tower Hamlets in February 2026 shows an average house price of £455,000, down 11.6% from a year earlier. That is a fall of more than £50,000 in 12 months on official data. For first-time buyers, the numbers are even more significant. Average purchase prices in this borough have fallen materially over the same period, and those are life-changing numbers for a buyer who has spent years saving toward this market. The reasons the correction happened here are well documented and worth understanding clearly. Remote and hybrid work destroyed the Canary Wharf commute premium that the new build towers were priced on. Building safety concerns affected the mortgageability of certain developments. Service charges on the larger towers climbed to levels that made overall ownership costs difficult to justify at peak pricing. But for a buyer who has done genuine due diligence, who has confirmed building safety certification, who has verified the service charge is manageable and the lease is clean, Tower Hamlets in 2026 offers entry prices that have not been available since Crossrail first started moving this market. A patient buyer with a good broker and an independent solicitor is in a strong position here, and that position is the direct result of a correction that is documented in official government data. City of London. The City of London is 1 square mile of financial infrastructure sitting at the heart of the capital. Around 9,000 residents, millions of daily workers, and a residential property market that has corrected harder and faster than almost anywhere else in the country. From the 2022 peak, the cumulative fall in the city's residential market is approaching 30% in many segments. A flat that sold for £900,000 at the top of this market is listing today at £600,000 to £650,000, and motivated sellers are completing below those listing prices when the buyer is serious and prepared. The fundamental driver of this correction is structural and it is not going to reverse quickly. Remote and hybrid work has permanently reduced the value of proximity to a city desk. The buyer who was paying a significant premium to live within walking distance of their office is now in that office 2 or 3 days a week and is no longer willing to pay for proximity they rarely use. They have moved to more affordable boroughs and they are not coming back. But here is the specific opportunity that creates. Someone who genuinely wants Zone 1 London, who values the architecture, the history, the transport connections, the unmatched concentration of tube lines running in every direction, and who is buying a home rather than buying access to an office, that buyer can now access all of it at a 30% discount to where it was 3 years ago. Kensington and Chelsea, London. Kensington and Chelsea is the Royal Borough, the most expensive borough in the country, and it is down 11.2% in the 12 months to February 2026, according to official ONS data. The average home in the borough now costs £1,225,000. That still sounds expensive, and it is. But context matters enormously. In a borough where prices fell by roughly £155,000 in a single year, on official figures, the buyers who operate at this level are sitting in a market where sellers are accepting discounts that would have been inconceivable in 2021. Data shows that roughly 45% of all listings in prime London areas underwent a published price reduction in the most recently measured period. Nearly half of everything listed had its asking price cut before it sold. The average discount achieved below asking price ran to more than 10%. In a borough where the average home costs over £1 million, 10% is more than £120,000 returned to the buyer at completion. The buyers who understand that number, and who have the experienced advisors to act on it, are doing exactly that right now. Westminster, London. Westminster is the most significant entry on this entire list, and it holds the top position not simply because of the size of its fall, though the official ONS figure of 12.7% down in the 12 months to February 2026 is the steepest of any London borough in that period. Westminster holds the top position because of what it represents. A genuine, documented, measurable opportunity to buy into one of the most prestigious addresses in the world at prices that are significantly below where they were, and that are unlikely to remain at these levels permanently. The average home in Westminster now costs £872,000. A year earlier it was over £1 million. The mechanism driving this is structural and it is clearly understood. The international buyers who served as the floor of demand for Westminster property at almost any price for the better part of 20 years have stepped back. The additional stamp duty surcharge for overseas purchasers, combined with changes to the non-domicile tax regime that took effect in 2025, has made the purchase cost and tax efficiency calculation materially less attractive for buyers whose primary concern is return on investment. When that international buyer steps back, the domestic buyer, who could never compete at those prices, suddenly finds themselves in the room. The domestic buyer has a mortgage. The mortgage buyer negotiates. The seller who needs to complete accepts the negotiated price. 30% of listings in prime Westminster areas came with formal price reductions in the most recently measured period, and the average discount off the already reduced asking price was running at 10%. On a property listed at £800,000, that is £80,000 sitting in the buyer's pocket on completion day. W1 and W2 postcodes. Hyde Park on the doorstep. Zone 1 tube access in every direction. Some of the finest Georgian architecture in London. And a market that is, right now, offering the most prepared and most patient buyers a discount to entry that will not be available here again for a very long time. Barking and Dagenham, London. Barking and Dagenham is the most affordable London borough, sitting on the outer eastern edge of the capital with the Elizabeth line running directly through it. The average house price as of February 2026 is £364,000, the lowest of any London borough. And here is the specific opportunity that combination of facts creates. £364,000 in Barking and Dagenham does not buy a flat. It buys a house. A proper 3-bedroom house with a garden and a garage on a residential street. The same budget in Zone 2 or Zone 3 buys a leasehold flat with a service charge. The Elizabeth line puts the city and the West End within 25 minutes from this borough, and that transport reality has not changed. The housing stock has not changed. What has changed is the price, and that adjusted price is what turns a market from a long-held aspiration into an achievable purchase for a buyer who has been watching from the outside for years. Croydon, London. Croydon is a South London borough of roughly 400,000 people, about 10 miles from the city centre, with direct rail to London Bridge in 15 minutes and Victoria in 20. The flat market here has corrected further than the headline borough figure suggests, with former rental properties entering the sales market in volume as landlords exit following the Renters' Rights Act 2025. Some listings are priced 5 to 10% below what comparable properties were achieving a year ago, simply to move quickly, and motivated sellers are negotiating from there. Croydon still carries the reputational weight of its council's financial difficulties in recent years, and that perception creates a pricing discount that is real and measurable. The most important truth about Croydon in 2026 is precisely that reputational discount. A pricing discount in a borough with genuine transport connectivity into central London is not a risk to be avoided. It is an opportunity to be understood. The regeneration of the town centre is ongoing. The rail connections are among the strongest of any outer London borough. And the buyer who purchases here at today's corrected prices, with a 15-minute train to London Bridge, is buying a location that is a genuine bargain relative to any comparable commute time from any other direction on the London map. London, England, final word. The data across these 10 boroughs tells a consistent story. Westminster down 12.7%. Tower Hamlets down 11.6%. Camden down 9.1%. Kensington and Chelsea down 11.2%. Hammersmith and Fulham down 7.5%. And motivated sellers clearing stock at negotiated discounts in Newham, Barking and Dagenham, and Croydon. The headline that says London property always goes up is telling the story of selective outer boroughs where affordability is driving genuine organic demand. It is not telling the story of the prime central and inner boroughs where the correction is documented, current, and still running. Know what properties are actually completing at, not what they are listed at. Negotiate from facts, not from hope. Work with an independent solicitor whose loyalty is to you and not to the seller. And move when your own research says you are ready, not when the seller's timeline is the pressure point. The window open right now is the consequence of specific conditions, including international buyer retreat, elevated mortgage rates, building safety uncertainty, and leasehold reform, that will not last forever. Markets correct and then they recover. The question is always the same one. Were you ready when the data told you to move, or were you still waiting for someone else to tell you it was safe? The data is here. The moment is now.